You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked on Cowboys. Locked on Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. And joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. You can also listen to him on the Best Coast Boys podcast. Landon, how you doing today, sir?
Good. We just got through the first game, and man, I mean, you could not have asked for a more exciting game. No matter how you feel about the results, or no matter who you're rooting for, and really, even if you're a neutral fan, this was an incredible first game for the NFL in this season. So I'm certainly excited to talk about it.
Yeah, so the Cowboys fell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-29 in a back-and-forth game. I believe the Cowboys only led, was it once in this game?
That sounds right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was something weird like that. Let's just start. What was your biggest takeaway from this game?
I mean, look, this is going to be maybe controversial, but I thought it was a fantastic game for the Cowboys. I mean, the fact that they lost by 2 points to the defending Super Bowl champions that are bringing, I mean, all the reasons that we talked about them probably losing this game are still stand. And the Cowboys went in there the night that they're hanging their banner in Tampa Bay, and they went toe to toe with the champs for, almost the entire game, and to lose in such a fashion that, I mean, ultimately, if you talk about it, if Connor Williams doesn't get that holding call, they probably get a better opportunity to go for it on fourth down. They probably have a better chance to actually score a touchdown there at the end, as opposed to kicking a field goal and giving Tom that much more of a chance, right? So,
yep.
I could not be more excited about where this team is going this year. I think that Dak has shown us exactly the kind of player he is and exactly the kind of offense this can be. And I think the defense played the way that we had hoped. They gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of points. There's no way around that, but they took the ball away. They gave the offense opportunities. I was really thrilled with the way the game turned out, despite the fact that we lost.
I have a lot of thoughts. Do we want to start with the good?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the 10,000-foot view and tell me what you thought overall with the game, and then we'll kind of dig into the individual components.
The offense is going to be really good this year. Honestly, you know what my biggest takeaway is? I love that Kellen Moore is just like, you know what? We're not running the ball in this game. Well, there's no point. We know that before, under Jason Garrett, this team would have never operated this way, right? We never would have seen a game where they come out throwing, 35 passes in the first half? They just wouldn't have done that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They threw 58 passes in this game. Like, they would have tried to stay 50-50 to grind out the clock. And I love that Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore, were like, you know what? We're not doing that. We're going to go win this game the way that we can win games, by throwing the ball, by just getting rid of it quick, not having Dak take a lot of sacks. I thought the game plan was really, really good on both sides of the ball. So I think that's the most encouraging thing. But man, a lot of the same errors that we saw last year early on in the season with Dak, and then after Dak, are still showing up. And that's what has me a little bit concerned still about this team. Like, Landon, the special teams for the Cowboys are awful. Once again, like, I'm not even just talking about the kicking, like the 3 missed kicks or whatever. But special teams, penalties, and delay of games, and long returns, those are all things that just have me worried. Like, good teams don't make those kind of mistakes. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, it's pretty early in the season to be worried about special teams at this point.
But the thing is, it just hasn't got any better, though. That's my concern, right?
Well, it's looks week one, though.
I agree. It's just a continuation of what we saw last year. I'm frustrated, I would say.
Yeah, I have a hard time. I think it's a little early to get there. I just think that it's week one, and that to me is part of the reason that I'm so excited about this, is because look, these guys are just started working together, whereas the Bucs have they brought all this continuity back to the team, and the Cowboys were still managed to keep up. I think the thing that to me that like stands out is that, we talked about it right before the game or before the game. This was a team that is supposed to be building towards playing in a championship this year. The Cowboys.
Yes.
The Buccaneers are trying to hold on to what they've got, the championship formula, right? So the
Yep.
fact that the Cowboys are playing toe-to-toe with the Bucs at this point is impressive. I think special teams, defense, they still have to work themselves into shape. Those are still new units. I mean, those are completely populated by different people now. I mean, outside of, the kind of stalwarts that you know about. But I think that a lot of the things that have me concerned about this team, I think I have room for improvement and I think will actually improve as the season goes on. Because we could talk about some of the things that were not good on defense with coverage. There are certain things that Anthony Brown is going to be a problem. If that continues to be an issue, they either need Kelvin Joseph to come back and get well soon and go out there, or they need to consider doing something this week to see if they can get somebody in here to be that other corner.
I just don't know what you do though, right? Because pretty clearly the answer is not Jordan Lewis on the outside, right? I don't think it's Maurice Kennedy either. And I really don't think they want to play Nahshon Wright in big spots like this yet. Wright would have been a terrible matchup for Antonio Brown. But at the same time, I was telling the people that I was listening to the game with, this is why Tampa Bay is the favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Antonio Brown might be the third best receiver on this team, and they can isolate him one-on-one with your worst corner and get big plays. And it's so hard for them to stop. It's just like Dallas, right? That's why Dallas had a lot of success on the other side of the ball. So overall, I'm not too discouraged with their defense. When you get 4 turnovers, they were playing hard.
Yeah,
it's just a lack of pass rush that's still a bit of concern.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're just not gonna. Tom Brady doesn't get sacked. That's just like kind of his thing. He doesn't take sacks. The Cowboys were getting to him. The Cowboys were affecting him throwing the football. So I am excited there, but I think I mean, he gets rid of the ball so quick that the only opportunity to get sacks against him is in the middle of your defensive line and quick pressure in his face. And the only way the Cowboys were going to generate that with this defensive line right now was through blitzing Parsons and kind of freeing some people up, and that's actually what happened. And you saw that that's how Osa got that initial pressure early on to cause that first 3 and out. Is Parsons freeing him up, and so I just think that you see potential here, and that you've got a couple of the guys that you're hoping can kind of develop in the pass rush area. Interior and Gallimore once he gets back, and then Joseph once he gets back, and you hope that kind of improves those positions as the season goes on.
And again, Gallimore is the big one. You got 2 more weeks at least until he comes back. We'll see how he helps the defense. Let's take a quick break so I can tell you guys about Built Bar. You guys know about Built Bar. It's the absolute best tasting protein bar in the world. The flavor is incredible. It's low sugar. It's high protein. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your next box. That is BuiltBar.com. All right, Landon, let's talk about Dak. He was 42 of 58 for 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. His interception came on a ball that hit CeeDee Lamb in both hands. I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying Dak's arm looks cooked. It looks like he's got no arm strength. I mean, this is from reputable people that believe that Dak's not healthy at all. And he goes out there and shreds Tampa Bay. How did you think Dak looked?
I thought he looked incredible. I mean, I thought, he even the commentators in the game were like, this guy's been off for 11 months. Like, this is what we've been talking about this whole time, is that all that talk. Think about how many hours were wasted by all those prognosticators about Dak and his not being ready. And I'm concerned about Dak. And I mean, he put that to bed so early in this game and then just continued to put it to bed and then put the bed to bed. I mean, it was just so ridiculous how he kept on answering the bell. He'd get hit, he'd get up, make another play. He'd run for first downs. I mean, just, look, does he look all the way back to me physically? Not quite. I think he could still get a little bit more quick. He's still not quite the runner that he was.
I kind of think he's a little heavy right now. Not to say he's fat, but I think he's probably somebody who couldn't do a lot of running and conditioning this offseason, right?
You starting this again? You gonna start
No,
this
no,
up
I
again?
don't know.
Are
think
we
Dak's
just waiting for
incredible.
John Machota to get a bad angle?
No.
photo
It's
of-
not that. I
of-
just think I don't think he's nearly as quick as he was last year, and there's good reason for that. I'm not concerned. I think he's going to get quicker as the season goes on. I think that's the one thing I did notice a little bit.
I don't disagree. I
Okay.
having a little bit of fun there.
Okay.
And look, I think he's been focusing on throwing clearly, and that's where he was really shined. He was getting this team in good position like all throughout the game, and I think the one thing that I really, the only thing I can say was a mark against him is I'm pretty sure that he was the one who called or killed to that run play
On 3rd and 3.
On the 3rd and 3. But outside of that, like he was basically flawless. I mean, it's really hard to kind of put it into words. Like he went up against what was a top 5 defense, the Super Bowl winning defense, his first time back, and he threw for 403 yards. He was almost 7 yards an attempt against a defense that was incredibly good last year, and to give credit to the offensive line too, he only got sacked once. There was pressure, and he was definitely having to avoid. But I mean, Vita Vea is Vita Vea. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like fact that we only heard his name really once and for all the talk about Ndamukong Suh, like he didn't do anything except get a huge penalty. Yeah. So I thought that the Cowboys offense really, really played well and really, really stepped up. And the defense, is what we expected, or at least what I expected, an improvement on last year with a bunch of young guys who I think are going to get better as the season goes on.
Let's talk about the running game. Ezekiel Elliott, 11 carries for 33 yards. Tony Pollard, 3 carries for 14 yards, just 60 total rushing yards for Dallas. What did you think about the running backs?
I mean, it wasn't what they were doing that tonight. It just wasn't about running the football. And so, their numbers don't look good. And, all the people that I saw on Twitter complaining about, how much Dak is making per touch were all the same people that were complaining that Dak was running the ball too much. So I think, the Cowboys have finally kind of listened to some of us, and they're not basing their play calling or their assignments or their play time based solely on their investment. Right. Jalen Smith was not out there for for all those snaps. Despite everyone suggesting that they would never do that they'd always play their money guys, the Cowboys are making the right football decisions, and it's showing up. And that's why they were able to play the game the way they did tonight, is because, like you said, they weren't trying to bang their head against the wall running the football against Vita Vea and these guys. They wore them out in the pass game, and then later on in the fourth quarter, they were able to continue to kind of have their way with the defense because they were exhausted.
That one big play, I believe it was 3rd and goal from like the 2-yard line on the pitch. Should Zeke have scored on that play?
I mean, I think it was a tough cut. It's not as simple as a one-on-one. It's easy to say he should beat a guy one-on-one, but he's trying to get wide while the guy's got an angle on him and coming down.
It's really Jarwin's fault, right? And I saw people,
without a doubt. Yeah.
And I saw people saying that's bad coaching by Dallas because they're putting Blake Jarwin in a situation where he has to block somebody.
He's a tight end.
He's a tight end, and he's done that before. He just has to get in the way. Like, he just whipped, right?
We're not asking him to bury anybody. And I think people go too far with this stuff. Like, not being a good blocker means he's not burying anybody, but I mean, he can get in the way of the guy. He just didn't do it. I'm saying he is able to do that. And he did, and he just didn't do it on that play. It just didn't happen. So
it was a 4-point play in a 2-point game. A 4-point play is pretty big, Landon. That was a costly one. Just really quickly, the wide receivers. Amari Cooper, 13 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns on 16 targets. You remember when people were worried that he wouldn't be ready for week 1?
Yeah. Dak's not going to be ready for week 1. Cooper's not going to be ready. Demarcus Lawrence is not going to be ready for week 1. Who were the best players in the field? All the same guys that we knew that were going to be the best players in the field.
CeeDee Lamb, 7 catches for 104 yards and 1 touchdown. I actually think it was a bad night for CeeDee. Like, the stats are good. He did not play his best football.
I mean, seven catches on 15 targets is not great.
3 drops, right?
Yeah, 3 drops, including one that was I mean, are they calling the interception a drop on CeeDee Lamb too?
I'm calling it a drop.
I am too. If it wasn't counting,
It hits
one of those
both
three drops.
hands. It was a dime by Dak Prescott.
And I think he turned his hands the wrong way. He needed to.
Yep.
He needed to put his palms
You gotta catch.
out.
I mean, yes, he was going to absorb some contact, but that's what the receiver position is. Like he just got to catch that ball. So, the thing that I'm most nervous about coming out of this game is Michael Gallup. Right, he has an ankle injury. It didn't look like he was close to coming back on the field. We're gonna have to observe that, but I don't believe there was any other injuries. I don't think, Landon, right?
Because he came out for a little bit with an eye thing, but it was just because he got stabbed in the eye by a finger.
Yeah, Antonio Brown.
Gallup was on the sideline, like in pads. Like so, I don't. You're right. I mean, he probably couldn't finish the game, but I don't know that it was that serious. Like if he had an ankle injury and it was serious, they probably would have taken him in the back, or he would have been in a boot or something.
All right, let's talk about the defense. So the defense, the run defense was good. They only gave up 52 yards to the ground. Tom Brady, 32 of 50 for 379 yards, 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, although one of those was on a Hail Mary. They forced a fumble. Actually, they forced 2 fumbles. How did you think the defense played overall?
I think, if we're comparing them to the league, they played probably average, maybe a little bit above or below average. I think if you're comparing them to what we are expecting based on last year, I thought they played incredible. I mean, this is what you had hoped you were going to get, right? Like, because Tampa is absolutely the worst. I mean, outside of Kansas City, maybe Tampa is absolutely the worst matchup for any defense.
Well, yeah, they've got all 11 returning starters. They've got weapons all over the field. I mean, it's just a terrible matchup for Dallas.
And so for them to kind of come out with what they did, look, they gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points, but like I said, they took the ball away. They gave their team a ton of opportunity to win this game. And I thought that, despite being kind of still working themselves out and figuring out exactly what they're doing on defense, they had a good game plan. They made Tom uncomfortable at times. I mean, we were talking about hoping to get 2 stops a half, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And they got that in spades in each half. So I think they only how many points did they allow in the second half? Like 14 or something like that?
I'm looking at it right now, 10 points in the second half.
That's pretty great, man. Like that's, it's 31 points. I get it, but it's 31 points to a team that scored 30 points on almost everybody down the stretch that they faced. So, that's kind of as close as you're going to get to an NFL average defense, that's the bar. That's the high bar at this point for the Cowboys. Let's see if they can get to average and then creep their way up from there as the season goes on. I saw a lot of encouraging things from this defense, but it's only just the start. We've got a ways to go, and they've got a lot of young players who I think can improve on their performances that we saw.
That cornerback position still has me really worried. There's nobody out there for them to really grab. Anthony Brown seems like he's going to be the only option. Just seems like he's lost all confidence, Landon, and I don't know what they do. I don't know what move they have, so it's going to be something.
I just don't know.
Good.
I just don't know if it's going to be so bad every week. Like I don't know that he's. I mean, a lot of the problem is again who they were facing, an incredible wide receiver. I mean, Antonio Brown looks like he's the old Antonio Brown. So yeah. I'm not going to. Brown's gonna have to face our Brown is gonna have to face other guys like that, obviously, because this is the NFL. But I'm my hope here is that it's just not going to be as bad as it was this week
over the course of the season
for his matchups. So and until Joseph can get up to par enough to kind of take that job over.
All right, let's take one more quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. It's that time of year again, and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. BetOnline is the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, from football, basketball, baseball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait and take advantage of all the great offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right, we're going to talk about the officiating in just a second. But in general, Landon, I would say that you're encouraged by what you saw on Thursday night, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like on the list of possible outcomes for this game, losing was on the vast majority of them, obviously. But losing the way they did, I thought was, impressive considering who they are and where they are, their team development, and where Tampa is in their team development.
Yes. I would say I'm encouraged. It's tough to lose the first game of the season, especially when you've got the Chargers next week on the road. But I do think the Cowboys played a pretty good game. It's kind of what we talked about over the last couple of days. Just play well, keep it competitive, stay relatively healthy, and I think that'll be a good sign. Can we talk about this pass interference call? Actually, the non-pass interference call. Landon, how much does it suck to lose back-to-back week 1 games on a bogus offensive pass interference call last year and then not getting one this year? It's awful.
Yeah, it's pretty awful. I mean, the fact that is the best part was when they were showing the replay and the slow-mo and Collins goes, "Is there a push off there?" And you see not only the first hand push off, but then that second hand creeps in and really pushes off. And you're just like, they're not going to call it on Tom Brady.
Do you realize that would have basically been the game? Because that's a 10-yard penalty and a 10-second runoff, which they didn't have another timeout. So they would have been, I'm pulling this up right now. They would have been at midfield with 14 seconds left and no timeouts.
Honestly, I don't think that would have been the end of the game. I think the end of the game would have been the intentional grounding that happened the play before that they didn't call for some reason. Because that would have been a loss of down and the 10-second runoff.
That was another one I didn't get.
I don't understand it. I mean, it's very clear. There was no one in the area. He was still inside the pocket. I don't understand how that's not intentional grounding. And again, I understand not calling one. And I'm not going to I'm let it play guy as well. But when there's back-to-back penalties that are egregious, come on, man. And I know it happened all game, and I'm not I'm not trying to say that was the game, but I hate to see that kind of thing.
Dallas didn't lose this game because of a non-call. It's just so frustrating that they've been on the short end of the stick in back-to-back years in this game, right? Nationally televised, NBC game, they don't get either call. And that's what's so incredibly frustrating. It's just
it was you that has been keeping track of those opinion calls, and the Cowboys, right? And the Cowboys are by far the worst team as far as getting the bad shake of the stick on that. They don't get those breaks. And Tom Brady gets those breaks all the time. So, they could look, it's as any football guy will tell you, you can't rely on the refs. You can't put it in the refs' hands to help you win the game. You got to find a way to win it without it. So I'm not going to try to go that route, but I will say that it's just frustrating. I'm tired of it. Honestly.
I'm very tired. Any other thoughts on this game before we head out? I know we've got a weekend full of watching film. I heard a little birdie tell me that the All-22 might be back this week, Landon.
Oh, that would be so nice. I hope your birdie is correct.
Any other thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I mean, look, I know a lot of people are going to hate this, but I am excited. This is as happy as the Levante David penalty. That's a good one too. Someone mentioned in the chats someone said that was because he wasn't taunting. I think it was Mike Pereira. Mike Pereira can go to hell as far as I'm just kidding. I mean, he can, frankly. I'm so sick of Mike Pereira. Anything else about this game? I'll tell you, look, like I said, I'm encouraged by this team. We went into this game and thought that this was going to be, a really bad game for the Cowboys, and we did win, and that's there's absolutely no moral victories there. But if you're taking the long view of what the Cowboys have got going for 17 weeks, I think I feel good about the trajectory of where this team is. And I feel like a lot of my priors were confirmed, in this game and in a good way. So I'm hopeful that the team is on a good track to really do something this year. And I was just really glad to see Dak Prescott play football again, honestly.
I was too. Now, I will say, we kind of had a feeling that the Cowboys were going to lose this game. They were 9.5 point underdogs, I think is what the line finished at.
Which is ridiculous.
I still
can't get over that. Yeah.
Does next week feel like a must-win, Landon?
No, it's 17 games still. It's like, I mean, yes, they should they need to try to win, of course, but it's a non-conference game. It's I mean, they need to go in and try their best, but I don't really believe in must-win games at this early in the season. And the 0-3 thing is, kind of the actual line of demarcation for concern. And I don't even know if that applies anymore with 17 game schedules.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it'll be a little bit while before I'm starting to worry about this team, I think.
Okay. One more thing I was going to ask you about. So, did you agree with the decision for Mike McCarthy to kick the field goal to go up by 1 late in the game?
The last time?
The last kick? Yes. The go-ahead field goal.
I did. Because of the penalty. Because they had
I think it was 4th and 5, right?
Yeah. If I had felt like if they had not gotten the penalty before and they were able to get closer, and it was a closer 4th and 1 or something like that, I would have gone for it. But I think you started to see the offensive line start to give way a little bit, and I think Williams, Vita Vea was starting to eat a little bit in the middle. I think that they were trying to get the points while they could to try to win the game. They knew the odds that of giving Tom Brady the ball back that late in the game, but at the same time, they had to get points in order to win the game. Right. So the only chance they had to win the game was to get some points.
See, I think I just would have went for it. We've seen this happen so many times at the house against good quarterbacks over the last couple of years, and I said it at the time. I think kicking the field goal is a bad idea against Brady in this offense, right? Because it's Tom Brady, and they've got all these weapons, and Dallas, really hadn't stopped them from moving the ball all game. Now, they got a couple turnovers, but it's just too easy to get in field goal range with 1.5 minutes in timeouts anymore. It's just,
they needed 2 penalties to do it. So
I just would rather have the ball in Dak Prescott's hand to win the game. You know what I mean? I'd rather ride with Prescott. Hey, if you get the first down, you're probably running the clock down and you're kicking the game-winning field goal. Or you've got 1.5 minutes and I think 3 timeouts at that point.
I think that one's more 50-50 to me than the one where they kicked the field goal that first one that Greg missed. Because to me, that was I think it was 4th and 2 or something like that, and they were closer. And I was like, go for it. You need to beat this. This is the Super Bowl champs. You need to sense the urgency. You need to go for it there. To me, at the end of the game, where they had to get points in order to be eligible to win the game, I understood why they took. I felt like that was a more 50-50 choice than not going for the earlier 4th down.
All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I guess we'll be back on Monday, Landon. I'm hoping the All-22 film comes out, that we can go over it, talk about some of the bigger winners and losers from the game. We'll have a whole Sunday worth of action that I'm sure we'll touch on. We are Charger fans this week, by the way, just letting you know that.
Yep, absolutely.
It's weird.
Just for these 3 days.
Just for these 3
tonight,
days.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's it.
Then we're turning back into Charger haters later.
Exactly.
Make sure you follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Cowboys. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher.